for a long time women of leadership church. And this morning, my wife, and she is not a pastor by training or credential, but those of you who know her that she is a pastor by relationship and in the way that she gives care. And so we are excited for what she's going to share today. I just did that. I need to give her a second now because things just got a little bit. Sorry. So here's the thing: Tanner's cry, and so do Stubbs's, and she's both. So that's a problem. So here we go. We good? Deep breath. Let's welcome Jenni.
Thank you for letting me stand up here. I feel very honored and humbled as I was trying to prepare what I was going to say today. I feel like I always have a lot to say, but then when you actually want to write it out and be honoring of your time so I don't just ramble forever, I appreciate the opportunity to be up here, and thank you. So I didn't even need to speak a word, and I'm already crying, so that's awesome. As I was chatting with a friend about this day and kind of like, you know what, you're talking about how to fall, so if it tanks, you're just practicing what you're preaching. I was like, touche, all right, whatever, here we go. So anyway, so we are in the season of fall, everybody. I don't know how many of you love fall. A lot of people say it's your favorite season. I hear that a lot. And, you know, we get to do the fun stuff, going to pumpkin patches and eating our goodies and our hot chocolate and apple cider and watching football for the guys that this fall season represents that. And I was just at the apple orchard yesterday. Beautiful memories and fun. But do we realize that we're actually witnessing creation surrendering? We're witnessing death, you know, as we see these beautiful colors. And we're like, wow, there's such beauty here, but we don't realize kind of what's underneath it all. Holding it together is a transition, a season of dying, actually. So we often experience that as well as humans. I don't know if you have noticed a pattern or a trend in your life that there are seasons that are going great, summer, things are going wonderful, and then can transition to another season. And this season around us is a good reminder of how internally we can also experience our own seasons of fall. A season of maybe, you know, descent. Things aren't going so good. Or, you know, a dark time. A season of surrender or dying for us. And that can be caused by a number of things. I think, you know, a death of someone we love, an illness just kind of socks us from nowhere, loss of a job, a broken relationship, failure. The list could go on for quite a few things. It, you know, whatever it is that can rock your world, can be multiple things. But however we find ourselves there, it's never a planned season, I feel. It just happens to us. And we discover it's out of control and I am going down. But could we find some beauty there also, just like the season surrounding us? Could we find beauty there? Could we find purpose there? Is there a reason this is happening? Or could we even find God there? So one of my favorite authors of late and teachers, Richard Rohr, I read a book of his this past winter called Falling Upwards, with this concept of to actually get to God, maybe we need to fall. And so a quote of his that I'd like to share today is, "We grow more spiritually by doing it wrong, doing it right." And that is an interesting concept as I discovered this. Could the path to knowing God more fully and experiencing his love be a path down instead of up, climbing that righteous ladder, like you're attaining worthiness to get to God? But could it maybe be the opposite of descending? So this was the way of Jesus, his life, his teachings. He preaches about the upside down kingdom. So it shouldn't be anything new, it seems. You know, the last are first, the first are last. The out are in, and the in are actually out. The lost are found, the humbled exalted, the exalted humbled. He keeps talking in these paradoxes that is hard for us to understand in our humanness, and we like to climb and be successful. So I wanted to share a scripture today that this is very true, but also kind of makes you think a lot. John 12:24-25. Listen carefully. Unless a grain of wheat is buried in the ground, dead to the world, it is never any more than a grain of wheat. But if it is buried, it sprouts and reproduces itself many times over in the same way. Anyone who holds on to his life just as it is destroys that life. But if you let it go, reckless in your love, you'll have it forever, real, eternal. It's sort of interesting to contemplate a little bit. It doesn't make any sense, right? Letting go, the surrender of making your life available to God's will and wishes and wind wherever he blows that seed, that is a hard thing. How many people kind of like to be in control? Maybe you don't want to admit it even, you know, like raise your hand, but I used to be definitely a control freak. And then the more children I kind of had to let all that stuff go because I was just going to like go down real bad, you know? Like the house is just not going to look great. I'm not going to be able to like be with my friends as much as I want. You just have to like let some things go. And there's some good there. Okay, there's some good there. It feels a little out of control, but there's some good in surrendering to the moment that you find yourself in your life. So in Richard Rohr's book that I referred to earlier, Falling Upwards, he describes the process of being this reality, of this like paradox of letting go but winning, vice versa. In a book, Falling Upwards, he talks about it in the context of the first half and so as I'm reading the book, yes, so much sense. And I guess he says that you kind of become aware of this in the ages of 35 and 50. Somewhere in your midlife, you kind of decide and realize some things aren't as important as they used to be, and you change your perspective. And that's just all the book is kind of talking about. And perhaps this is the natural form of things and how you can grow in your maturity and things. So the first half of life consists of making a name for yourself, paving your way, training for your success, following order, climbing the ladder. You get it done to make yourself successful, put yourself out there, you work your way up, you know, even all the way from childhood. And we're building the esteem of our children. That keeps growing until you find your career and your path and you're successful. The second half of life, you begin to realize, is kind of an undoing of those things. And you realize what is truly important. So it's more about appreciating the place you are in at the moment and not striving so hard for the future. Instead of promoting yourself and making your voice stand out, it's about finding your strong inner voice and following that. Richard Rohr says, the first half of life is striving to have what you love, and the second half is learning to love what you have. Striving to have what you love, and then the second half is learning to love what you already have. That's hard. I wish I would have put that up there. I forgot that. I was trying to be good at like Colin, but I couldn't quite. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so so it's a maturity that comes as a result of facing and accepting your qualities and your weaknesses in places and addressing what is happening, identifying these places in my life that maybe I've overlooked. And actually, you know, the first half of life, you might be kind of like just denying you have those shadow places. Because who wants to show their weakness? Come on. It's so scary and crazy. And, you know, no one will like you, or you'll, you know, stumble, lose your job, whatever it is, your greatest fear, you kind of avoid those things. But in the second half of life, you actually learn to accept those things. First of all, actually look at those things, acknowledge that they're there, and then accept them, and then work with that. So I'd say, he says, the second half of life is becoming aware, or I would say, the second half of life is becoming aware of and identifying your true self and your false self. So let me just describe those quickly. And I took the Enneagram course with the ladies here, or if you know anything about the Enneagram, this is sort of playing on that idea, the personality typing thing, that a theory is that you are born in the identity that has given you, and that is your true self. And then as you get older, you grow up, things are placed on you, and you form a different identity, kind of like an outer shell of a seed. You have your seed, and then there's a coating of that seed, and that is your false self. That's the things you put upon yourself to say, this is who I am in the world. But there's something deeper inside you that is your true self, your authentic self. Some other people would say it's your essence of who you are. And that is God-given, okay? And the coat is more the false self, which you've put on you, or your family or your culture has put on you. So identifying that that even exists is a thing, I think, in the second half of life, and realizing, oh, these titles, these successes and achievements, or even the failures sometimes can identify who I am, and that makes me who I am. But more importantly is something in there, which is your true self. So I think the seasons of fall are really small deaths of that false self, because that can hurt, okay, when you're identifying these things about you that are not pretty, or that you realize are false about you. And it's not fun. So taking this idea of fall and surrendering to the moment, I'm going to share with you a moment of my recent season of fall, if that's okay. This is where I'm going to try to hold together. But so I've talked with a few of you that were close to me at the time, and whatever it was that launched me kind of in this awareness, it was a kind of a broken friendship that kind of didn't go as I had planned, and I had never struggled or had that in my adult life ever. Like, I'm just a very happy person. I want to be your friend and all this stuff. And so to all of a sudden realize, like, whoa, this is not, no, like, what's happening here? What happened when I'm looking at kind of this broken friendship? And it took me to kind of a dark place. It was the thing that rocked my world. It wasn't, I feel bad that it wasn't like a divorce or a death or something super traumatic, but it was just this friendship. I don't know, it feels weird, but to me, in my personality type, that means everything to me. So it actually did kind of destroy me a bit. So what that did was kind of send me to really like a very sober place. I just say it was kind of, I was telling some people it was like my bright sadness of the things that I became aware of shadows in myself. Sorry, that I didn't really want to see before that time, of ways that I can be controlling and things like that. So I started to become more aware of that dark side of me that I kind of avoided up until this point in my life. And that my kids had all been off to school, as many of you know, this past year, and so I actually had a lot of time during the day, which was good. And I was reading books and actually trying to pray and meditate. I was practicing doing some new things that I'd never done before, just to try to figure out what was happening inside me, because I knew a transition and a shift was happening. And so, and I started meeting regularly with my friend, my very good friend Suzanne, who many of you know. So she kind of talked me through some stuff, and it was really a very hard time, but it was a really good time now that I look back, in a good season, because I learned so much. And I wanted to share with you one of the days that I was just kind of praying. I was journaling a lot at that time, like just write the things that I was reading and the things that I myself. And I just kind of sat quietly for a minute. I put on some worship music, so that was kind of going in the background. And I just closed my eyes to just kind of sit there for a little bit. And I had a vision, and it kind of all came at once. And I'll share that vision with you. It's kind of weird. It's not like this weird. I hope that doesn't seem weird. It's kind of like, it's happened to me quite a few times in my life, but it's kind of like a daydream, like an image that just kind of washes over, and then I become aware, and then I realize that there are things that are symbolized in there for me. So I just totally realized that might be creepy. Okay, so yeah, it's not like I was like, oh, in a trance or something. No, I was just kind of praying, and then this image flashed before my eyes in like 1 second, and instantly I understood kind of what was happening. So I'll just explain it to you. So I was in my dream or vision, I would say. I was walking, and I had kind of like a tattered outfit on. It was like a 1920s like farm girl dress. I don't know why, but it was like some like tatter. Like, I definitely worked hard and I was wearing it, okay? But it was like someone that like is proud of their work. So I was like, wasn't like, oh, I'm dressed in rags. No, it was like, okay, I work hard, and I'm carrying a suitcase. An old suitcase. I don't really know what's in it, but as I'm walking, I realize I'm kind of like, there's a trail. As I look back, there's a trail of things behind me, like shiny things and some awards and like ribbons and things and heavy stuff. And there's this whole trail, and I finally get to the place, a front porch of a house, and I don't know what house it is. But I'm looking at myself, so I don't know what the house looks like, but I can see myself on a front porch, and I'm still holding my suitcase, and it is, I don't even know what's in there, if there's anything left, but I'm holding it with like a death grip. And I'm I'm looking at the door, and I know that on the other side of that door is God, and it's open. And sorry. And he's telling me in my vision to just set it down and come through the door. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And he's like, but you actually need to take it all off. I was like, what does that even mean? And he's like, it was just like this knowing of, you can't come in with anything but your true self, just yourself. And in my vision, I was like, I could tell I had this pain look on my face, like, I don't really understand what you're asking me, but I don't want to do that. Like, I remember saying, I was just kind of yelling, like, can you just leave me my dignity? Like, why do I gotta get naked for you? Like, it was this very weird moment of no, but I just knew that was the condition of walking in the door. And then it was done. And I don't know what I did from there. I was like, okay, I'm at this doorway. I'm at this threshold of something in my life. And I know I've got to drop everything to like walk through there. That's what God requires, which seems so simple, but at the same time, super hard. So that was weird. And and so, of course, I met with my good friend, and I would describe this vision to her, and she was like, wow, you're at this crossroads right now, and it's great. I want to encourage you to do, what you need to do to go through that door, and I was like, that's so scary. And she challenged me. She said, I wonder if you write a song about that, what would that sound like? What would the sound of that vision sound like? And I was like, I don't even know. And she put this little spark in me to actually write a song. And if you know me, I am very open to different levels and musical abilities of all the people I work with in the band. I love it so much. I love budding musicians and then the really professional musicians, and I like all the range. But if it were me, I've never tried to write a song because I'm so scared of the result, because I want my song to be perfect or something. I don't know if that's even possible. Colin writes a lot of songs, and I really respect him for that because it's hard work. But I wrote a song, and I want to share it with you guys this morning, so if I can make it through. But it's basically a song reflecting that vision that I had. So I'm going to go to the piano and share it. This is very vulnerable and scary for me, so pray for me as I'm singing. I've traveled far to you. I've carried much for you. I'm standing right in front of you, but I can't look at you, and I can't set it down. I can't set it down. No, I can't shed it now. No, I can't set it down. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Just leave me my dignity. Just what do you want from me? And I can't set it down, no. And I won't set it down. And I can't What do you want from me? Just leave me my dignity. What do you want from me? Let it go. Let it go. Oh, my soul, drop it now and just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Oh, my soul, drop it now and just let it go. And let them roll. Let them roll. My soul, feel them roll and let them go. Let them flow, just let them flow. Oh, my soul, let them go, just let them flow. Till all I see is you. 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 Thank you for letting me share that very vulnerable, personal moment of mine. It's still a struggle, I gotta say. It's still a battle of not wanting to release those things and let them go. But I know that that's the journey. So anyway, I want to encourage you guys, if you are in the dark place, if you're in your own season of fall, that it's okay. First of all, it's okay. And God is with you, even in that time. And there's some helpful survival tactics, I guess, that I kind of experienced through and taking off another who journey to into a descent time, I guess, a dark time. So I wanted to share with you some of these tips that you could maybe do if you're experiencing that. So one, to remember, you've maybe had previous dark times, because they're there. I know. And you can look back and think, okay, I did it, I survived, I made it. To reassure yourself that you are okay and that you will make it through. The second would be to listen to other people's stories of the same experience. Like, I love that about the recovery community, that they share their stories, just open and honest. There's some power there that you can become very encouraged of your own story and know that you can make it through if there are people, stories that you can cling to of other people that have traveled that same path as you. A third would be to gather in community. So you're just not alone. So you're simply with other people that are encouraging you in your path and being vulnerable and open to those people. And so for me, it was a couple really trusted friends and conversations that I had many conversations of processing with people to identify what was happening and a path forward, maybe. So I would encourage you to do that. A fourth one would be actually the opposite of that, which would be retreat or solitude, which is what I totally experienced. And I needed to be alone to shut out all the other voices in my life and in my own mind and heart. And I spent many days by myself, which, if you know me, that is scary. Like me, I thought that would be very scary. And I actually attended my first in a cabin by myself. I just embraced that idea of solitude, that I needed to be alone to hear God, really. And so it could be both ways. You need community, but also you do need solitude to find that inner voice. And fifth would be create. So I was journaling a ton during that time, and I still do when things strike me because I want to remember. It's like I want to document what's happening inside. And so I had never been a big writer or anything before this time, really. But I've kept a journal, and it's tattered and worn, and I've tucked things in there to remind me of my journey so that when I know that this happens, when this happens again, because I know it will, I can look back on those things and the things that I felt, and I can also see where I've grown so much. And then also maybe, or creating an expressive arts like music or art, if that's your way to identify and emote what's happening in you. I think that's really important. And so I'm really blessed that my friend challenged me to write a song because I never, ever, ever would have thought I could do that. And then the last one would be, right up there? Oh, enjoy life. Okay. Yeah, it was like, just go have fun. So there was a night I was desperate to get out of my own mind. So I messaged some of my friends and I was like, I'm going croaking tonight. I'm going to be down in downtown Anoka, and y'all need to come with me because I need to get out of my own head. And so, and it was such a blessing. It was like a reprieve of what was happening in my inner life. And so there are those moments where you need to just go out, go to the family gathering and try to enjoy life for what it is. Because even in fall, there are days of sunshine, not all gloom and doom. And so I was like, yes, I can embrace this. You're going through something super heavy. Listen, when it's happening, we're like, oh, this again, coming. And so none of us are immune to this idea or this concept of fall. It will happen. If it hasn't already happened, I feel very blessed because it's going to happen at some point in your life. You're going to experience something that your brain and your heart just cannot comprehend and cope with. And you're going to have a season of darkness. And really, I think it's important. I think it's where we learn. I think it's where we grow. And sometimes we even fall there, okay? When we fall without help from God. To more than if every day were summer. If your life was summer all the time, maybe you're not living enough or something. I don't know. That's too special. How are you getting out of this? No, I think if we look deeply enough and internally enough, you'll find that there are for all of us. Outward looks like it's summer all the time. There are definitely seasons inwardly. So if we know this is going to happen, then I think we need to learn how to fall. Okay, how not to fight it. You know, like I think in the older community that they tell them, like, if you're gonna fall, you should fall like this. You know, you roll with it, you fall on the padded. I've seriously heard that. Don't use your wrists, right, to brace yourself because you'll probably just do more damage than if you were to fall. And so I think we need to learn how to fall, which is what I'm still discovering. I don't really know when I'm going down what I'm even going to do because I kind of panic. But but I think that we might be better off than trying to stiff arm it and catch ourselves. Maybe we roll with it as we're falling and land in such a way as not to break. Amen.